All right, hump day. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin with some breaking news. The two terror suspects who are accused of throwing, homemade bombs at a New York rally last month both pled not guilty to federal terrorism charges. Okay, we'll see how this plays out, considering they admitted they were inspired by ISIS, but whatevs. Also, for all those saying that Trump is tanking the economy, I suggest you take a peek at your portfolio, including your 401k today, as both the NASDAQ and the S&P closing at record highs. It was the 11th straight day of gains on the NASDAQ. And a Florida doctor, this is insane, charged with manslaughter after removing a patient's liver instead of a spleen during surgery. According to the filing, the doctor removed an organ he believed to be the spleen, but due to his shock and the chaos, he was unable to properly identify the organ. Are you kidding me? But first, tax day, and taxation is theft. So let's do this. Day, baby, pay your bill because millions on welfare depend on it. We got fraud to pay for, sexual misconduct in Congress to cover up, billions of money going to other countries that give us absolutely nothing in return. Oh, and don't forget the $40 million a week that we're still giving to the Taliban as of today. But the good news is it's less bad this year than it was over the last 4 years.
Thanks to promises made, promises kept, through the working families tax cuts, the president has delivered the record refunds to the American people. The average refund this filing season is over $3,400.
Sounds great. And yes, Trump's big, beautiful bill stole less money from us in taxes because, again, taxation is theft. But don't ever celebrate a tax refund, folks. I would rather under-withhold all year and pay at the end of the year, because if you get a tax refund, it's because you gave the government an interest-free loan all year. And this is probably the first time I've ever heard the government say this or understand it, that you and I know how to spend our money better than the government.
President Trump and Republicans in Congress have always believed that the American people know how to spend their money better than the government does.
Thank you, Caroline. The best part about this is the government steals more money from you by forcing you to do the work for them. And the average American actually spends 13 hours and almost $300 to file their taxes. I mean, think about what a scam this is. There's the G-man comes in. Hey, you owe us taxes. You say, oh, okay, how much? Well, you have to figure that out. You should actually hire somebody to help you do it. And you're like, oh, okay, you don't know how much I owe you? They're like, nope, no idea right now. And you say, okay, well, what if I get it wrong? Well, the G-man comes back and says, you go to jail. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. You're sitting there like, word, here we go. Every year I sit there and wonder the same thing you're probably thinking. What the hell does the 100,000 IRS employees, at least under Biden, do all day? Watch, now I'll probably get audited, but it's worth it. This is crazy how complicated our system is. And it's the government's fault, by the way. But as a result, we have to spend time and pay people with our own money, taxed money, of course, to make sure that we comply with their outrageous pile of laws. I go back to James Madison. Well, actually, I want to go back to the Boston Tea Party with our current tax code. But James Madison nailed it. He said, quote, if the laws be so voluminous that they cannot be read or so incoherent that they cannot be understood, he goes on to say basically they're irrelevant. Our tax code is 4,000 pages for just the initial laws. Add volume 2, another 2,600 pages. You've got some commercial tax notes in there, another 4,000 or so pages. But when you add in the footnotes and the annotations and the clarifications, it amounts to about 70,000 pages. But you got to make sure that you have this year's version, because the tax code has changed 4,680 times just from 2001 to 2012. We don't even have recent data of how many times it's changed. But if you did your taxes solely based on that, and I've told you this before, you would go to jail, because that doesn't account for the changes in the tax code that resulted from the additional 2 million pages of court cases won or lost that changed, clarified, or nullified various parts of that tax code as recently as last month. Keep in mind, the original federal tax sheet was 1% and 2 pages of instructions and 2 pages to file it on that we were told back then in 1913 it was going to be temporary. And to think our founding fathers started a war over a 2.5% tax hike in a breakfast beverage, and look at us now. Now, most people think that tax day is because it gives you 3.5 months to file after the end of the year. Okay, that may be, but it also signifies the average date that most Americans actually start keeping the first penny out of their paycheck. Yeah, I'm basing this off a $250,000 salary a year, which is a very healthy income. You will work January and February and a bit into March just for the federal government in income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare with no deductions. That's the same Medicare, by the way, that is completely being defrauded by the billions right underneath our noses, and Democrats are covering it up. But it's cool. So now after you pay the G-man on the federal level, you're under 200 grand. Good news, too. If you make more money for the crime of paying more in taxes, the federal government graduated our tax code, so you're actually going to pay an even higher percentage of the more money that you make on top of that. And you get no additional representation. Just hand over more money to the government so they can light it on fire. And since I live in the Socialist Republic of Connecticut, let's do that one. We can tack on what we pay in income taxes there. I know a lot of states don't, but I do because I have nowhere else to go because I have to work here in Manhattan, okay? As high as 6.5%, another $16,000 off a $250,000 salary, bring you into the end of March now working for free just for the government. Maybe the beginning of April. Who knows? I mean, depends. Now, you still haven't taken anything home yet. You're down to about 175 to 180 grand-ish is what you're taking home after just state and federal. But that's simply for working. Let's get into what you pay to just exist and live. If you own a house, you got property taxes, $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the size of the house, the town, or even how close you might be to water. You're down to 165 grand. You buy stuff. Groceries, things, gadgets, wiggly bops, anything. 6% and change in Connecticut. That's probably about $4,000 to $5,000 a year for most people in that state. This goes in part to our bankrupt pension system that was so poorly managed by the Democrats. So now you're down to about 160 grand take home of your 250 that you were making. Now you got the gas tax, depending on how much you drive. This could be an extra G or two a year. Call it $159,000 salary. Don't forget your vehicle taxes, registration on top of that. Buy any booze, go out to dinner. If you have a dog, it's $19 if it's not neutered. But if you spend the $300 to get it neutered, they give you an $11 a year break on the dog tax. Okay? Most towns do these neat little things like assessments and permits, just another name for a tax. Sewer assessment, service charge for your electricity bill, permit to have a shed. That's still a tax, too. Oh, you like fishing? Tax. They call it a license fee, but it's a tax. Oh, and when you pay that license fee, there's a 50-cent convenience fee for paying it on their website. Newsflash, also another tax. You want a gun permit? I think we're up to almost $200 now for that in Connecticut. A tax for a constitutional right in the Constitution state, in a state full of libs who call voter ID a poll tax, which is an equal right. Oh, you've got use tax. If you bought something out of state, you're supposed to self-report. Yeah, I'll get right on that. Trash tax, bottle deposit tax, an extra luxury tax on cars over $75,000, which is basically any new car now. Business license tax, hotel room tax, insurance tax, dry cleaning tax. Don't use the hospital, there's a tax for that too. Oh, calling 911, there's a tax for that too. But don't worry, that's already built in automatically to your mobile phone bill in Connecticut. You got greenhouse tax, whatever that is, because I already pay an emissions tax, so I guess that one's just taxing me for farting. Don't you dare die, by the way. They will tax you for that after hitting your family up for the sales tax on the coffin that they put you in. And add that up, and it can be another 10 grand of taxes, bringing you down to 149 and change a year. 100 grand gone to the government. So we basically work from January through May for free. So the greedy G-man can waste our money on shrimp running on treadmills and leering centers in Minneapolis so some Somali can ship the money back to Mogadishu. And for all that, the government doesn't even listen to us. For example, 83% of Americans support voter ID, and our representatives won't even pass it. But yet we're supposed to applaud a 2% cut. How about a 100% cut? Because the government laundered, stole, and wasted about $100 trillion in my lifetime. Tea, anyone? President of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist, sir, it's all BS.
I think you understate the case.
Yeah. I mean, look, people everybody hates taxes, but at the same time, like, taxation without representation, that was the fundamental building block of our entire nation. And yet here we are. I just illustrated you're working till June for free for the government, for which you get almost no benefit from.
250 years ago, when they signed the Declaration of Independence, Americans were paying under 2% of their income in taxes, the colonists. The British, who are, running the world, they paid 20%. Right. And we paid 2%, and we were getting richer. They decided that perhaps we should pay taxes more like their 20 than our 2%, and we started shooting at them until they went away. Now, unfortunately, we spend a lot more on taxes, or have a lot more money taken in taxes, than we ever thought that the British did at the time. Yeah. So there's been a little bit of backsliding since the revolution.
Yeah, a little bit? Yeah. I mean, the other thing, too, is like I was looking through stuff, and under the Pharaoh, the slaves paid 20% in taxes, for the honor of being a slave. So that makes you think. I got to bring this one back in honor of tax day. Remember Donald Rumsfeld added this new addition to his list of known and unknowns, the accuracy of his 2013 tax filing, writing a letter to the IRS. Okay, this is a former Secretary of Defense. As in prior years, it's important for you to know that I have absolutely no idea whether our tax returns and our tax payments are accurate. I say that despite that fact that I am a college graduate and I tried hard to make sure our tax returns are accurate. He went on to say, I do hope that some point in my life, and I am now in my 80s, so there are not many years left, the U.S. government will simplify the tax code so that citizens who sincerely want to pay what they should are able to do it right and know they've done it right.
Well, if it was simple, then it would be easy for people to articulate what they were paying and whether it made any sense. If you look at the 50 states, 24 states have a flat rate tax, single rate. 8 of them it's 0. 16 of them, it's some number other than 0. The states with graduated income taxes that are more complicated, they 9 different tax brackets, sometimes more. California has many tax brackets. You hit over 9% at $72,000 a year. Everyone talks about billionaires in California. After 72,000 and above, you're paying at least 9.9%. It is a ridiculous set of taxes that they have. The simpler it is, the easier it is for people to figure out what they're paying and to decide how angry they are about it, which is why in Illinois, they have a flat rate tax by constitution. It's under 5%, because even in Illinois, Chicago, 2/3, both houses of the legislature, Democrats, they are scared to go to the people of Illinois and say, we've got a great idea. You'll all be happy to pay for it, because they can't think of a single thing that would justify everybody paying for it. Right. They can only do it if they divide us into groups and mug us one at a time.
But Grover, what would happen, like realistically, I'm being serious here, what would happen if everybody was like, you know what, screw you, I'm not paying taxes this year, I'm not happy with my government?
This has happened from time to time in the history of the world. Tax revolts, in the United States go way back, starting with the Revolution, but then several times since. It is one discipline. Now, in theory, we can vote new people in who will have a less abusive tax structure. Yeah,
they're all the same.
But we do. But the other one is at the state level. Federal level, we're a little bit stuck, but at the state level, we have serious competition between the states, and you really do see people leave the high tax states and move to the low tax states. Over time, that gives some real discipline to how crazy California and New York can get.
Yeah, and then they elected Mamdani anyway, so I don't think they learned anything. Grover Norquist, we appreciate it, sir.
Good to be with you.
All right. Coming up, old Joe Biden making a rare public appearance at Syracuse, only to ruin it with a very racist comment. Still fit as a fiddle, right? We got that clip later on in the show. But first, another preventable tragedy thanks to Trump's predecessor, a DHS employee actually killed by a criminal migrant naturalized under, you guessed it, Joe Biden. Wisconsin Senator, member of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, Ron Johnson, going to join me on that in a sec.
People can't stop talking about Rob Schmidt.
I trust the news from Rob Schmidt every single day.
They say he's no BS.
No BS. No liberal crap.
He hates liars.
The honesty and up-to-date news and none of the fake news.
He tells it better than anyone.
Everything is straight, legit, real news.
He's your voice.
Rob Schmidt, 7 p.m. Wouldn't miss it.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
I love Newsmax.
Buying a new car? You need WeatherTech. Perhaps a nice used car. You need WeatherTech. Or maybe you're still driving Old Faithful. You need WeatherTech. No matter the age of your vehicle, American-made WeatherTech products are the solution. Because Nexus don't care what year your vehicle is.
See? You do need WeatherTech.
Order your American-made protection at WT.com.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
Sonia and Gerald trust Prevagen for their brains, and this is their story.
I'm Sonia.
And I'm Gerald, and we live in Jacksonville, Florida.
We are both military veterans, and we provide dental care for underserved communities. We have a very busy life.
We take Prevagen for our brains.
I would honestly say I like the way that Prevagen makes me feel. At the end of the day, I feel confident and amazing.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Hey y'all, so I just downloaded the Experian app because I wanted to check my FICO score, but it does so much more. This thing shows you your FICO score, you can get your credit card recommendations, and it shows you ways to save money.
Do so much more than get your FICO score. Download the Experian app now.
All right, we got some breaking news right now. The Office of Director of National Intelligence has reportedly sent criminal referrals to the Justice Department for, who's probably not going to do anything over it, but for the whistleblower who complained about President Trump's 2019 call with Vladimir Zelensky and set that whole impeachment investigation in motion, and process ultimately ended in Trump being impeached in the House and acquitted in the Senate. But the office also reportedly sending a referral for the former Intelligence Community Inspector General who notified Congress of the allegations. They all knew they were crap from the beginning. Wisconsin Senator and member of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, Ron Johnson. Senator, I hope the DOJ does something about this.
Well, as do I. Now, I'm not a prosecutor, not a lawyer. I don't know exactly what the crimes they're potentially alleging here, but lying to Congress, falsifying forms. The Democrats were howling about foreign influence in our elections, based on the Russian collusion hoax, which they made up, their political operatives made up. But the extent to which Eric Ciaramella, the Inspector General for the Intelligence Community, that they interfered in our election, the damage they did to this country, the political turmoil which continues through this day because of their false actions, because of their lies, because of their deceit. Throw on top of that current Senator Adam Schiff, who has to be one of the, and this is saying a lot, one of the biggest liars as an elected official in history. I mean, these guys were all cooperating, and they lied about, they denied cooperation. That entire Ukraine impeachment was a hoax as well. It was all coordinated. It was all designed to destroy Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, it's all completely coordinated. And Adam Schiff lying. Oh, I've seen the evidence. Well, that evidence didn't exist, so he didn't see anything. All right, I want to get to this, though. This is crazy. A DHS employee murdered while walking her dog in Georgia by a criminal migrant who was naturalized under Joe Biden. DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen tweeting out on Monday, a DHS employee, Lauren Bullis, was brutally shot and stabbed to death by this guy. I'm not even trying to say his name. A 26-year-old born in the United Kingdom who was naturalized by Biden administration in 2022. He possesses a prior criminal record that includes convictions for sexual battery, battery against a police officer, obstruction and assault with a deadly weapon, vandalism, and now stands accused of murdering this DHS. I mean, why was he still here, sir?
Well, again, another tragedy that never should have happened. I'll be waiting for the Democrats to, scream about this one like they did with the two martyrs that they encouraged to put themselves into harm's way and really gave their lives. lost their lives because they were obstructing justice at the behest of the Democrats. So again, Democrats never complain or show any level of sympathy for the victims of illegal immigrants or people who've been let in this country that probably never should have been let in, certainly should have been naturalized, or had they been, probably should have been sent home based on criminal records.
Yeah, exactly. But that was not the plan of the last president. But J.D. Vance, our vice president, spoke last night at a Turning Point USA event, reminding conservatives to get more involved in pushing for the SAVE Act. Watch this real quick, sir.
Yes, it is annoying to me that there are only 45 or 46 Republicans who will fight politically to get the SAVE Act passed. But you know what? 10 years ago, that number was 35. So the answer to frustration is engagement. Don't give up on this process. Get more involved in this process and demand more from people like me. That's how we take our country back. I just think it's important to say that.
Senator, I mentioned in my monologue that 83% of America wants this, and yet we can't get 83% of Congress to vote for it.
Well, first of all, understand the reason you can't pass the Save America Act is because Democrats won't allow it. It's existential to their overall game plan of turning America into a one-party nation. That being said, the only way we're going to pass it out of the United States Senate is if we end the filibuster. I've been pretty vocal about the fact that the Senate is so broken. We have pretty well eviscerated the filibuster, the cloture vote on nominations now. Reconciliation does not require a 60-vote threshold. Rip the Band-Aid off. We've gone down the slippery slope. We're basically at the bottom of the hill. End the filibuster. Let's try and save America while we still have a chance to do so.
I'm down with that, sir. We appreciate it very much, Senator. All right.
Have a good evening.
You too. All right, the Minnesota House Rules and Legislative Administration Committee has rejected the proposal to start the impeachment proceedings against Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. Members of the Minnesota House Freedom Caucus believe that Walz, or still do believe, as well as I do, Ellison and Walz should be impeached over their failure to stop billions of dollars in fraud from going back to Somalia, from the Leering Center and stuff. Ellison is a candidate for re-election in November. Obviously, Walz is so bad that he realized that he can't do it, and he's not. Minnesota probably still going to vote Ellison back in because there's enough Somalis there to do it. The man who presented the impeachment resolution, Minnesota State Representative Mike Wiener. Mike, look, I had high hopes for this, but I realize that Democrats are never going to go along with it.
Unfortunately, well, thanks for having me on. Unfortunately, you know, if you watch the committee today, you would see that the emphasis by the Democrats was continuously Trump. It was deflection. It was never admitting that there's any fraud in the state of Minnesota. And if you're dealing with a body that will not face reality, how do we plan on getting something forward? But we still have some options. We still have some means that we could get this to the floor to get discussion. It won't go to a full vote, but we can still bring it up in an urgency.
Right. I mean, honestly, the best bet is like Minnesota's not that, like it's not that blue. It's just you've got these high concentrations of little tiny areas. Hopefully Trump can deport enough of these people who shouldn't be here anyway, who are probably voting. And then you can take your state back. But, you know, the DHS whistleblower, the Minnesota DHS whistleblower, Faye Bernstein, lifelong Democrat, spoke out today at the hearing about how Tim Walz's administration targeted and attacked her for trying to expose some of the fraud that you are trying to impeach him over. Watch this.
She called me to tell me that if I spoke in front of the legislative committee, that I would likely be fired. Had me involuntarily transferred to a different position to get me out of where I was.
That sounds super freedom of speechy.
How could the Democrats listening to that testimony? From another Democrat, by the way, and Faye did an amazing job, and the strength that she had to come into this committee and talk to us today. And then the Democrats wouldn't even listen to that, wouldn't even take it into account. We have laws here. We have just an unbelievable dynamic in the government that when they can turn a blind eye to the $9 billion of fraud, turn a blind eye to a whistleblower like Faye that did an amazing job, you know, we have our work cut out for us. This is not a blue state. This is a purple at best. And we've got to take it back.
Yeah. And like, honestly, if the state can't come back in an election after, what, $18 billion just vanishing to a bunch of foreigners that weren't even supposed to get it in the first place through fraud, like, I don't know what's going to do it. All right, State Rep Mike Wiener, we appreciate it very much. Keep up the fight, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, Abigail Spanberger, one of the worst Virginia governors in the history of that Commonwealth. She now wants to upend 250 years of democracy. Former Virginia delegate Nick Freitas weighs in next.
I'm Michael Savage, and I was conservative before conservative was cool. Do you realize how crazy the liberals in this country have become? I do. You want to get me started today? I'll get started. Watch Michael Savage and the Savage Nation every Sunday night.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
The first day back from maternity leave is so weird. We get it. Find a caregiver who does too. When it's not you, it's care.com.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
This woman gives me like endless fodder. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger just signed a national popular vote bill into law, joining 17 other states and D.C., by the way. As you can see, there are basically, those are all blue states. Now, there's really not any blue states. There's just blue counties that overpopulate the rest of the state. But this means that the states, based on this new law, would assign their presidential electoral votes not to the winner of the state, but to the winner of the national popular vote that, by the way, Trump won in the last election, too. But regardless of the results of the state, and with this compact now has 222 electoral votes. Well, I hate to break it to these Democrats. That's not what the Constitution says. The 12th Amendment, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 says, each state shall appoint in such a manner as a legislature there may be a direct number of equal electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which a state may be entitled in Congress that are supposed to vote the way their state votes. Those on the left translate this as some leeway for states to determine how their electoral votes are cast. Other constitutional scholars and smart people say that the founding fathers vehemently disagreed with a popular vote determining the president. This is a perfect example. Take a look at this. This is a map of the counties that Trump won, red. Biden won, blue, in 2020. Yeah, look, it might have been a 50-50 popular vote split, basically, with Biden edging him out a little. Edging him out. Okay, but the reason we have Congress and the Senate and electoral votes is because the values of different territories should have equal representation sometimes. Former Virginia delegate, Green Beret, and the author of the fantastic new book, Man Book, Nick Freitas. Nick, okay, man, we're going to do a bunch of stuff here, but this Virginia stuff, this has got to be driving you insane, especially with gun laws as a vet.
Oh, yeah, but none of it surprises me anymore. This is what they do every time they get power. We got a brief preview of this when the Democrats took control of the legislature and the governor's mansion back around 2020. And what we found is regardless of what they say they're going to run on, the moment they get into power, they immediately go after our rights, immediately go after our money. And now they're apparently going after our votes, and which is to say that if you're a Republican, if you live in a rural area, your vote doesn't count anymore. I mean, this is bad enough, but what they're trying to do with redistricting as well to make us the most gerrymandered state in the country, like it just, again, nothing surprises me anymore. Democrats see government as a way to reward their friends and punish their enemies. And if you are slightly to the right of Hillary Clinton, you're their enemy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is an amendment that actually makes it so they can't do this, but we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. Listen to this from a Democrat Virginia delegate, Dan Helmer. He says this is needed because, quote, we have new generation of Democrats in Virginia, and what that means is that we have people who appreciate the threats that are happening in our democracy today and are ready to take action. And the National Popular Vote Compact is one of those actions that we can take to protect American democracy right now. So here's my question. I mean, like, first off, the Democrats anointed Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris without a vote. They are absolutely nowhere near anything democratic, considering that this impeachment hearing blew up. Russian collusion was fake. All this stuff is garbage. And yet they're talking about democracy.
Well, yeah, when they say their democracy, that doesn't mean us. Right? We're threats to democracy. Yeah. We're threats to democracy. Their democracy means anybody that agrees with them. But we're considered a major inconvenience to them because every time they want to run roughshod over the Constitution, we're there to peskily remind them that it actually exists and it should be respected. And Dan Helmer should know better. Dan Helmer swore an oath to the Constitution when he was in the military. But Dan Helmer is one of the leading voices among the Democrats in the Virginia House of Delegates that is constantly trying to infringe on our rights, whether it's our Second Amendment rights or otherwise. Not to mention the fact, little interesting part about Dan Helmer talking about threats to democracy and saving our democracy. Yet Dan was one of the guys that was really pushing this redistricting gerrymander. Why is that? Oh, well, because he's run for Congress a couple times now, and he can't even get out of his own party's primary. But now if you look some of the weird lines that have been drawn, my gosh, why would there be this little bump that includes Dan Helmer's house? It's because he wants to draw his own district. That's why. So I'm done. I'm done hearing about democracy from these people. And first of all, they might want to pick up that Constitution that they actually swore an oath to so they could recognize that we're actually a constitutional republic. That'd be super helpful.
Dan, you could roll up that Constitution, put a piece of mahogany wood in it, and beat them over the head with it, and they still wouldn't get it. But this goes to your book, okay, the Man Book, all right? We are in a society now where Democrats have largely tried to strip man stuff away from men, so we're a bunch of neutered, pink hat-wearing wussies. Sorry, I'm on TV. I had to neuter that, what I was going to say. But they've basically taken all the manhood out of this stuff. They've tried to say everything's toxic masculinity, and they've told people that the trades are bad, so nobody knows how to do anything anymore. This book is going to save that.
Well, look, I think there's a lot of young men that, especially for the last 2 decades, they feel like they have been the butt of every joke. They have been the butt of every attack. They've been consistently told by woke, progressive feminists that they're the problem to everything. And they've been told that their masculinity is toxic, right? The future is female. They have no role in society except to sit down, shut up, and take orders. And the bottom line is young men are not going to accept that. And they shouldn't accept it because I believe that God made men in order to be strong, in order to be capable. But the question is is to what and for whom. And that's what this book was about. I've been alive 46 years. I've been in elected office. I've been to war as a Green Beret. I've been a husband. I've been a father. And I've learned some stuff along the way. And I just want young men to know that now more than ever, this country needs them. We need them to be smart. We need them to be capable. We need them to be strong. And we need them to be able to do it in service to God, to their families, and yes, their country, now more than ever.
Yeah, and just before the show, Dan conceded the Navy SEALs are better than Green Beret, too. So,
well, that sounds like something Dan would say.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Nick, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, delusional billionaire and the new Democrat frontrunner in California's governor race, Tom Steyer, planned just going to destroy the state of California, if you can even believe it's going to get worse. All that and more in our Culture Clash.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
It's April, time for digital spring cleaning.
I shall purge the clutter!
Whoa, use PCmatic. Our whitelist technology automatically cleans out malware and junk files without...
Delete the cookies! Delete!
Without breaking the computer. Get PCmatic. We clean the smart way. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies.
Visit PCmatic.com today.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact. Call now, and your gift's impact will be doubled.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
Total delusional billionaire, actually. And new Democrat frontrunner, in fact, in California's governor race, Tom Steyer, posted an immigration enforcement plan, basically treating ICE as criminals for enforcing the law, despite Steyer throwing $90 million at a private company that profited off California's largest immigration detention center in the past. That's weird. Anyway, I'm not even surprised, because this is how he campaigned for the presidential election. Watch this. That dude's too white for the Mayflower. Host of Podcast Scrolling with Hayley Caronia, and independent journalist Evita Duffy-Alfonso. Hayley, like, the guy hired a rapper to do a bit for him to try to attract black voters, I guess. And like, this is his thing: make money off immigration, but now he's anti-immigration. Hire a rapper to campaign, but he's not authentic at all.
Petition to get Democrats to stop dancing, stop singing. I don't want to see any of this. If they could come up with an actual policy platform that doesn't hurt Americans, I'd be shocked. They're too busy twerking and hiring Meg Thee Stallion to do whatever they do, which doesn't work. But it's so ironic, right? Because these Democrats had no issue with ICE when Obama was in office, and Obama was deporting 3 million illegal aliens. They had no issue with it. When kids were in cages under Obama, they had no issue with it. Yeah, now Trump's in office, and now all of a sudden they want to abolish ICE and then throw the ICE agents in jail. And something interesting that Tom Steyer said was he wants to throw ICE agents in jail to protect the most vulnerable in society. I think we have different definitions of most vulnerable in society. Republicans will tell you that's children or the unborn. Democrats will tell you it's criminal, illegal alien border jumpers.
Well, I wonder what his security detail looks like, too. I wonder if they're armed, actually. Evita, remember how all the libs melted down over this Trump Jesus post the other day, but not a word when there was a painting of Barack Obama depicted as Jesus wearing a crown of thorns on display in Boston back in 2012 by artist Michael Deep, whatever his name is, and is not the only one. He was just all the time they depicted him as Jesus. Of course, the libs didn't complain at all when that happened.
No, of course not. And this is because, let's be real, the left actually hates Christianity, and they are getting worse every year. Obama's former vice president, Joe Biden, the second he got into power, what did he do? He went after pro-lifers, and he went traditional Catholics. The Democratic Party has hated Christians for a long time. They're getting more and more overt about it. Even left-wing cultural icons. I'm thinking of Sabrina Carpenter just a couple of years ago, went into a Catholic church, desecrated it for her music video. No one said anything. Nobody checked her. She's moralizing about President Trump and this admin. Meanwhile, again, she is desecrating a Catholic church. So they hate Christians. They want Satanists and Christians on the same level in the public square. This is who they are. This is what they believe in. And of course, they're hypocrites for calling out President Trump because they were doing this with Obama for years.
No, yeah, it's fine when Democrats do. All right, speaking of Biden, someone's got to come get this guy. He's being his 1970s racist self again. Joe Biden pulling this is Syracuse University trustee on stage yesterday. Why? Check this out.
Barack, what are you doing? Come here. Come here. I feel like he should be standing on the right and I should be standing on the left. Hey, you done this look at Barack? Anyway.
Well, I want to give you each 30 seconds on this one, Hayley.
Yeah, this is so bad, but it's par for the course for Joe Biden. Back in 2007, he said that he was impressed with Barack Obama because he was the first clean African-American politician. So maybe he just saw a black guy in a suit and thought, there's my guy.
Yeah, exactly. Evita?
Yeah, I mean, he just thinks that all black people look the same. I'm not really surprised. I'm actually a little bit I'm sad by it because I think we're not going to see this many, this kind of un-PC, democratic, like racist candidates in the future. They're not going to be able to run a Joe Biden and actually be remotely successful. He's kind of a dying breed, but certainly he's very emblematic of the old school left.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, didn't he like eulogized a KKK member, I think, or something like that, like way back in the day? So, but hey, Uncle Joe, right? All right. Hayley, Evita, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Dems weaponized FISA against Trump. Remember that? Now he's putting the country first, urging Republicans to extend the foreign surveillance powers for our military needs. I don't know if this is a great idea. We're going to break it down next.
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free no-obligation consultation.
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. RoofMax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your RoofMax restoration.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. This frame is an 8-base wrap, so it's going to sit close to your face, give you wide peripheral vision, stay on tight, but it also has a squared off lens for a versatile everyday look. And then you have comfort fit adjustable rubber nose pads for secure fit as well. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
Look, Democrats spent years weaponizing the FISA courts. It's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. They used it to spy on Trump. They used it to push the Russian collusion hoax and try to destroy him. This is what Mike Flynn got caught up in, too. Well, now, with the program about to expire, Trump's summoning the GOP holdouts to the White House, telling Republicans to, quote, stick together and pass a clean extension our military needs? I'm shocked to hear this. President Trump posting on Truth Social in part, while parts of the FISA were illegally and unfortunately used against me in the Democrats' disgraceful witch hunt and attack in the Russia hoax, and perhaps it would be used against me in the future, I am willing to risk the giving up of my rights and privileges as a citizen for our great military and country? Respectfully, Mr. President, I am not. And if you recall, too, Mike Johnson, our Speaker of the House, he campaigned against FISA when he was a congressman, because nobody's ever been held accountable for the violations of it. That's why I'm not willing to see this renewed. Newsmax legal analyst Jay Town and attorney at Judicial Watch and author of the fantastic book Defiant, Christina Bobb. Christina, you've been in the middle of this for a while. I was like floored by this.
I was floored as well. FISA comes up for renewal every 2 years, and every 2 years, conservatives are saying, kill it, kill it, kill it. In April of 2024, exactly 2 years ago today, President Trump put out on Truth Social, kill FISA. He explained that FISA is bad. MAGA was like, kill FISA. And then the first chance he gets in office, he's trying to renew it. So no, this is bad. I think any Republican that tries to renew this needs to either be primaried or just flat out vote Democrat. This is anti-American. This is terrible for our country.
Jay, what do you think?
Well, I would disagree modestly, and I make a habit of not doing that with you and Christina. But here's what I'll tell you, is that there have been great successes with the FISA 702. First of all, it's important for folks to know that you get up on a FISA warrant, there's a bad guy overseas that wants to be a terrorist in America, or he's a criminal or whatever, he's a spy, he's calling somebody in the United States. We collect his call, but it happens to be with a United States person in the United States, and so we're really collecting both.
But Jay,
right?
hold on a sec, Jay.
But
Jay, sorry to cut you off, and I'll let you finish here. The problem is it was misused, and nobody went to jail for misusing it. That's why I want it gone.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with that, and I was going to get to the failures. The failures were 702. Admittedly, the FBI, they didn't have the U.S. persons query. They get this big batch of U.S. persons that in their communications. They were just querying those U.S. persons and then starting investigations. Michael Flynn, you mentioned, based on those communications, even though they weren't the target of the FISA warrant itself. But there have been great successes. We've foreign and kidnapping and ransom plots, terrorism plots, hacking and ransomware plots, espionage plots. They've all been foiled because of FISA 702. So there's a very delicate balance of the use of 702, and the FBI has made several changes to 702. So what happened in 2021 can't happen
Christina,
again.
you look like you're about to light a stick of dynamite.
My head's ready to explode, and I fully respect my colleague's opinion, and that's great. I'm sitting here as a criminal defendant. I can tell you, I don't care what some hacker in Russia is doing because it's not a direct threat to me personally. The threat is coming from inside the house. They are tapping our phones. They are tapping our conversations. They're doing it to Republican members of Congress. Some Russian who's trying to do something with the military may be okay, but the bigger threat to my personal security is our own government. It's our own Department of Justice. It's my own judges. That is the bigger threat, and that's what needs to be shut down. And when those people are in control, okay, fine, let's talk about the people overseas. Until they are checked, I'm not authorizing it for overseas because you're using it on me.
Yeah, 100% accountability, Jay, and then I'll say, okay, let's come back to the drawing board. But we don't have that, and how do we know it's not going to be worse again? Like, look, I respect President Trump deeply. However, he's wrong here.
Yep.
Well, I think what Trump is saying is that the reauthorization will occur again during his presidency. So I think he trusts the people in place in his administration to not abuse 702 like it has been abused in the past. And the changes made at the FBI are working. 93, just some quick facts. The U.S. persons queries are down 93%, but compliance is up double digits to 98%. So
it should be
have gotten
100% perfect all the time.
And then what about the next administration and the administration after that? Shut it down. It needs to be shut down.
Yeah, I think it was bad from the beginning. Hey, look, Jay, we love you, dude. But
Sorry, Jay.
You set me up tonight, Carl. You and Christina.
I'm sorry, Jay. I love you. I totally love you. I think you're amazing, and you're so smart. I'm just passionate about this. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand that passion, and that's important for people to understand. That people like Christina and Michael Flynn and others, this has been abused. I understand the passion. I do. I just have seen in my role as a former U.S. attorney, I've seen the successes, and that's why I have to sort of balance the two. But I totally understand where Christina's coming from, and you, of course, Carl. I don't want to get on the bad side.
Yeah, I know. I will say, though, I will say that I am okay. I think one abuse of an American's rights is not worth catching some, Spetsnaz guy in Russia, looking at. I just don't care. It makes me want to weld a bunch of steel plates on a D11 and drive it through the building. But hey. That's been done before. Christina, Jay, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
Whatever. Oh, I love those two. Before we go, snakes on a plane, Sharknadoes, and cocaine hippos. Really? One of them is real. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
This is like the name of a D-rate movie, but here we are in our F block. Cocaine hippos. They are real, and they are invading parts of Colombia, so much so that the Colombian government has announced an effort to cull the herd. What started as a group of 4 hippos that were smuggled into the nation by the drug kingpin Pablo Escobar in the 80s, the hippo herd has expanded and inbred, and now there's like 160 of these things running around threatening villagers and farms and rivers as far as 60 miles north of the ranch that they were originally brought into. Hippos are like the most dangerous animal per encounter with humans. On top of that, they already like super deadly animals that are inbred, so they're all crazy, making them impossible for them to be reintegrated, by the way, to Africa. So the Colombian government plans to take out 80 of these hungry species. Now, Colombia is the only country in the world outside of Africa that hippos roam free, that anybody was stupid enough to even try to integrate with, Rob. Like, what's more scary than a hippo on cocaine?
Hippos, yeah, and you're right. People don't realize it. They're very dangerous animals. Yeah. I've seen them on safari, and they're wild. I would say a rhino, you don't mess with a rhino, and a lion on cocaine would be terrifying.
That'd be bad.
A gorilla. Don't they call you the vanilla gorilla?
They do.
Carl, good to see you. There he goes, right off the screen.